I did not have a choice in the matter.
And I was the benefactor of it. But here we are. And no surprise, the Ivan is once again going to be taken away. And we wait with bated breath to see whether the Mad Lions are going to be able to take something off the Rift as well. And it is the Orianna, so here we go. Kalista taken away as well. We've seen this one be a very popular ban away. I'm feeling a little bit weird though, Chronicler, because we haven't seen Kai'Sa so far in Swiss.
True. In the one-game sample size.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you love your one-game sample sizes. Orianna makes sense. We saw the power of the pick again in the last game, even though it didn't really come down to Faker. Being that powerhouse was still enough to get some damage down in the late game team fights. LeBlanc actually showing her face. Obviously, after approximately 20 rounds of bans, or nerfs rather, we've seen the Shiv variety kind of drop, but been played AP every now and then. I'm not going to speak of the cursed Hullbreaker builds, hoping that will be spared those. Yeah, I am aware. Azir also going to get taken away here, so a lot of mid lane focus here. And I do think that makes sense. The desk already highlighted as well. MNS has been kind of up and down. In the spring, I think he was a lot more consistent, but in summer in particular, not necessarily having the best showing. And I do think that when Mad are able to, you know, get Niski on something that he's comfortable with, he has been known to be a really big carry for the team, as this is something we saw in play-ins a lot as well. High priority on Taliyah, flex pick, you can pick like a Renekton, put her in the jungle, have the synergy there, can shove her mid against a lot of picks that are popular right now.
They also have the opportunity to pick Tristana for what feels like the first time this tournament. I don't think it has been permanently banned, but it's felt pretty close. The Rakan being the consideration, of course, another extraordinarily popular pick, can be paired with the Xayah right here if they would like to, but that does mean that Tristana could go through, and like you're saying, Blabber can head towards the jungle with the Taliyah or something like that. Has certainly been something that we've seen coming back.
Hilly going to be picking up the Rakan here. Rakan, obviously a champion that feels like the most well-rounded support, just does everything very well. We are starting to see some drops in the Rel priority. I think Rel very early on was something that we saw a lot of. The Jarvan, though, going to give LUI the opportunity to make an early impact on the map while still scaling in a decent threat. I do think that picking a Jarvan this early, though, when you don't know what the enemy is going to be bringing to the AD carry role, can backfire. We'll see if C9 actually wants to lean into that, or if they're just going to pick something stationary and say, hey, it's fine, we'll find a way to deal with the Cataclysms once it gets to that.
Yep, you come to us, and that is going to be the Cassante locked in here for Fudge, his most played champion overall this year, and has an incredibly high win rate. Of course, they're not really strangers to high win rates. C9 have done very, very well. And the Xayah going to be picked up here, so not even looking at that Tristana that I guess I mistakenly spoke about a little bit earlier on. Niski hovering some stuff, but we'll see where he is going to land as we get this first round of picks finished up. So the Star-Crossed Lovers, a little bit of a sad situation there with Rakan and Xayah.
Also means that, unfortunately for Berserker, not going to have the best of times. And this is the Ezreal. Now, this is no slight to Karzi specifically, who does love the champion, but I think Ezreal has been pretty underwhelming thus far. In theory, it makes a lot of sense, right? Ezreal is a very self-sufficient pick. Rakan, as Haley likes to do, will be able to have a lot of impact on the map, particularly when you pair him up with Jarvan. And Ezreal is fine on an island, outranges the Xayah, but in practice, just hasn't really felt like the Ezreals that we've seen thus far have been able to pop off, and particularly into something like the Cassante, who gets really beefy. Finding high-value Mystic shots can be somewhat of an issue.
Certainly able to lane relatively effectively against the Xayah, does win that range battle with the Mystic shot. So next round of bans going to come through here as the Nautilus going to be taken away from Sven. Makes a bit of sense there, of course. Often just paired with Xayah in general, but just not wanting to allow that engage to come through from Sven towards the bottom side. We'll see whether he does go with a Rel like you were talking about, which is still up and available. Might get a look at here in our next round of bans. Rumble taken away from Chasey. Of course, watching Fudge in the final didn't look like he was too worried about Rumbles. Renekton just looking like a counter pick, which is not how I was used to seeing that matchup, Chronicler.
Yeah, my pick'em's also not too happy about that one. I was expecting a little bit more Crocodile. What I do like for the C9 draft thus far is that this Taliyah still can go either to mid or to jungle, so I haven't really given a lot away, and I think the flex potential, particularly, again, you get one shot, right? This is your first round of Swiss, one opportunity, and making sure that you try and give your opponents as hard a time as possible to respond to your draft in kind is definitely a big one. Now, expectation would be to see something picked for Chase here. You already know your matchup in the top lane, and then save that counter pick for Nisqy.
Or you pick Tristana, and then last pick Gwen.
Sure.
I don't know whether it's a good idea.
I wouldn't mind it. I think Gwen into Cassante, obviously a very comfortable matchup. But
they're going to do that
you're half right.
But that means that the Tristana are going to be more difficult because, of course, like you were talking about, the flexibility of the Taliyah could come through here. The Alistar going to be the option first. And this pick, I'm expecting to see a lot of play, or at least a lot of attention in the draft in this stage.
Love that.
As that's a Jax look in here for for Fudge. And that would mean that Cassante is going to head towards the mid lane, something that M&S has done before. So very melee heavy as far as solo lanes, but with the Taliyah that we can now flex into that jungle, they can make up for a bit of that. Where is Sven going to go now?
Do like the initial setup here though for C9. It means that you have a lot of lanes to play through, and what the Heimer would do if it does get locked in is not allow Hilly to actually roam as much. Gonna be Alistar instead, which I do think works really well with the comp. It also means that in every single lane, you have Taliyah set up, right? So no matter where Blabber is gonna go, you're able to make plays off of that. Now, for Mad, knowing what you're playing into that Cassante, a lot of options still open here. Although, as mentioned, a lot of the high-profile picks have been banned away. But Syndra has been perfectly capable. And I think, particularly into the Xayah, I always really like, I think, having some form, outside of the Ezreal poke, of ways of dealing with a champion like the Xayah, forcing maybe defensive cooldowns early on in the fight, always going to be really valuable.
Yep, it does mean that the Cassante gets to dodge the Gwen matchup by flexing it towards the mid lane. Another really cool thing here. So Mad not going to quite have that ace up their sleeve necessarily, but with another melee matchup in that mid lane for the Syndra to kind of prey on. Of course, laning phase early should be something that Nisqy can really take advantage of. And then in the later stages of the game, their long-range pick is actually very, very high with Scatter the Weak, and then the follow-up with True Shot Barrage, things like that. Elyoya can then get on top. You can engage from about 1,000,000 miles away as the Jarvan. So opportunities here for Mad to make things happen, but I think the ease of execution isn't the lowest on the Mad side of things. They're going to have to really be on point here in this game.
Yeah, that's my main concern. I think the Mad comp does have a ton of agency, a lot of damage, a lot of upfront burst and power, plus I think a 1-4 setup, maybe even 1-for-1, you know, with the mobility that they have with the Ezreal, the Jarvan, the Rakan, and Gwen in a side lane. But executing it, then I think I really favor C9. This is a very straightforward front to back. You have a good mixed damage profile, high damage threat into Taliyah. You have the Xayah with a ton of front line, and Jax, the matchup that I think Fudge is not going to be too unhappy about.
No, exactly, and you mentioned 4-1, something that Fudge can definitely execute himself. The fact that Weaver's Wall can get a Taliyah there, very Nocturne-esque, who is one of the most popular 1-3-1 junglers to have. It's a very similar thing with the Taliyah as well. You're always pretty close to getting into that lane to help things out if you would like to. So I think eyes are going to be pretty glued towards that top side of the map, and of course it does come down to the junglers as well. And with just these two beefy boys in the solo lanes, Blabber is going to have a lot on his shoulders on this Taliyah. But here we are onto the Rift for our second game of the day. C9 trying to take down the Mad Lions. C9, I always just expect to be saying first seed out of the LCS. That is not the case this time around. And so far, no shenanigans in this early game, and our featured matchup is, of course, happening right now. Blabber versus Elyoya, presented by Mercedes-Benz. Blabber already just threading the volleys, and there it is. That's the matchup right there. It's perfect.
He already got hit by a flag post.
Yeah, that's that's a big advantage for Mad in the matchup. But the threaded volley came back as well, and also hit. I missed the start of it.
It didn't really do a whole lot, unfortunately. The downside of Taliyah, particularly in the form that she is currently, right? If you go back a couple of seasons, then she was actually really strong early game. Picked often was, as we mentioned, point-and-click stunts like the Renekton. Not nearly so much of it. Really needs to get her items. I think at the very least you're looking at picking up your Mythic before you really start to become a threat. And that does mean that Aoyaya has a ton of opportunity to try and make things happen early. Also, Jarvan, one of the few junglers that can actually get really, really scary level 2 ganks off. We'll see if Matt is going to try and leverage that. Also, do note Chasey going for the Ignite, Fudge also going for Lethal Tempo, so a lot of aggression expected there in that top lane between those two.
No, 100%. Not going for, we've seen like some of these ghost options as well from the Gwens, but the Ignite very, very aggressive, like you were talking about. In this mid lane, we have seen K'Sante matchups actually work out relatively well against some of these mages, especially the skill shot based ones, if you can use your dash effectively to get out of the way of things. And Elyoya is going to bring the flag down. Blabber wastes no time flashing out of the way of that one. And he is just going to get about his business, just going to get away from this whole situation. Elyoya feeling like the damage has been done though, so Blabber going to be able to still take his chickens.
Yeah, and nice to get the flash there from Yoya, but because of the mid lane situation, MNS actually able to get a little bit of early damage down and was able to already path towards those Raptors, so Elyoya not wanting to risk. Also, Healy was already moving up in case we did get a longer play. Ended up not being the case. Does mean that Elyoya is going to be a little bit delayed. And outside of the flash, not get a whole lot. We're going to see if he's actually able to get a lot going as, yeah, trading into an Aftershock for the Syndra, not a very fun experience.
Yeah. And so far, MNS actually looking really good as Hylissang is already here. Just seeing whether there's going to be an angle. Looks like that is not going to be the case as Fudge jumps in, or leaps in, I should say, onto Chasey. Looks like the Gwen's going to be all right for now, evening out the CS. It was looking a little bit dire for a moment there, but of course that is just a wave moving towards the Gwen. Chasey's going to be able to at least do his best in this lane. There's another dive forward here as Chasey does put down the mist, but it's not exactly an immunity situation against a point-blank Jax.
No, the extra resistances are going to help you out a little bit. It's particularly with the lethal tempo, like longer trades just aren't really an option. We see as well M&S actually doing a great job here aggressively, keeping Niski on the turret, and particularly with Doran Shield and Aftershock, like the ability of a Syndra to bully out K'Sante, not really looking too hot. Might be a double scuttle situation here, so C9 actually able to absorb the early pressure from Elyoya and then get out ahead. Although, as long as Blabber doesn't get punished for his lack of flash, which could, of course, still happen.
Yep, and he can move relatively quickly around the map and things like that. As long as C9 keep some vision control, Blabber should be absolutely fine. He's going to ride the wall and look to head back down towards this bottom side. It looks like the Krug camp, as it is going to be coming up relatively soon, is going to be his first port of call.
And we also see Blabber already picking up his lost chapter. Actually wasn't able to get a look at his runes, but particularly something we see very often with junglers that are looking to get their Mythic as soon as possible, or are very reliant on initial item spike. Can be Lost Chapter, can be Dirk. See Futures Chapter used a lot.
Yep.
In this case, though, Blabber already has his Lost Chapter, meaning that he is going to be completely fine in terms of mana, and also, as mentioned, the current form of Taliyah really looking to get to the Mythic as soon as you possibly can. And despite Elyoya trying to introduce some delays, not going to have too much slowing down now. Could be an angle here, will get spotted.
Fudge is going to immediately back away. Did have that ward there, but Leap striked a little bit early. That is going to be the flash to follow up. Still gets the knock up, and that is first blood with the last tick of Ignite for Chasey.
Amazing follow-up there from Elyoya. If Fudge is able to complete that Leap strike, able to flash out.
That was very close to a botched one as well, because that was right at the end of the flag and drag.
It really was. And if you don't have that flash and that play doesn't work out, it's a disaster. Instead, really big winner, because the kill goes to Chasey as well. So Chasey, in a matchup that I do think leans towards Jax, but is by no means one that if you get far enough ahead, is unwinnable or unplayable for the Gwen. Not going to feel too bad now. Chasey did have to back. The shove-in from Blabber means that we're going to have a little, maybe 2 minions gone, but with a cannon, not going to be the end of the world. And Fudge here, crucially, didn't use one until the end. And then Elyoya doing an amazing job there. Maybe if you flash upwards, could be a little bit too far off for Elyoya, but Fudge not able to get out of that one.
I mean, I feel like Fudge did almost as much as he possibly could do because he waited until the most opportune moment to get that flash off, but the reaction time from Elyoya
was really good.
Incredible to make sure that he still gets the knock-up. Blabber in position. We'll see whether he can find himself a seismic shove.
Chasey is old.
Onto Chasey, exactly. Gets a ward down as well. Blabber had vacated the area. Leeching Lear is in his back pocket, though. He is pretty scary on this Gwen. Closer and closer to this Riftmaker. More devastating you can get as these snip-snips really do start to take their toll.
I don't think they have the damage, especially with Gwen having ultimate available. And looks like they're going to decide against it. Chasey also clearly knew that something suspicious was going on. As Hilly running towards top lane, as he does. And particularly without flash, Fudge can definitely be a somewhat susceptible target. Also not sitting on the ward right now. No pink in the inventory. Is about to hit it.
It's a pretty large minion wave, but Chasey is going to push this one in. So Hilly, I don't think is going to have too much of an option, as Fudge probably not just going to dive on top of Chasey in this moment. But still, full lane control here for the Gwen. And like you were saying, this is a flippy matchup. This Hilly is just expecting something to happen. He's like, I'm going to leave, but before I do, let's see.
Hey, you got a cannon stack.
Yeah, there we go.
That's not going to be the best because as a result, Carzzy is still going to get zoned off here. He's going to get Berserker his first plate. This is something that you do expect to happen. We did see, though, that C9 not actually being able to deny a huge wave, not able to get more than one plate. I think playing it safe as well because they didn't actually know where Hilly was. Paying the respect that he does deserve.
Yep. Hilly is, shows himself right as the wave is going to disappear. So should be fine. Sven on a ward here. Hylissang is not going to worry about the presence of the cow towards the mid lane and is just going to mosey his way down towards the bottom side of the map. Blabber now towards this top side. The first Rift Herald has spawned. We call her Shelly in the LCK. Second one is Shirley, just to catch you guys up. Try not to use too many LCK-isms because they can be confusing. But sometimes we can't help it.
Yeah, there's a whole lexicon at this point.
Yeah, there is. Knock up onto Sven, though. He does have the Unbreakable Will, so no real threat of dying. But if they put that ultimate on cooldown, it could be a problem as Berserker going aggressive on the Carzzy bottom side. Just laying down the law for the moment. Carzzy not exactly feeling the happiest as the Ezreal in this matchup at this point in time.
Also seeing, Mad, what did we want to do? We don't want to contest with Hilly moving back up. Looks like that is indeed the angle here. Might be looking at a 4 versus 4 here. Fudge does have prio towards top side, so should be able to rotate through earlier. And we'll see. Picking up an early Herald would be big here.
Chasey moving a little bit late, can actually go back for that one minion. Fudge comes on down, that is going to be C9, locking down the first Herald. M&S going to collect that one. Just the tankiest one, had the most chance of survival. He's going to be able to get out, not going to be able to collect the crab. And Mad will back away as well. So still, just the first blood in this game. And C9 back on the board as far as their ability to make some gold this game. So it should be a very even situation after that charge does come through.
Yeah, would expect them to use it towards the mid lane. Try and crack that one open as soon as possible as Blabber. First time, no success. Save the second time hits here. Of course, Chasey not having a flash or ghost makes ganks all the more exciting as there we go!
Yeah, there it is, the Unraveled Earth comes down. Chasey gonna try and get himself out of here. The Counter-Strike doesn't quite work, but he doesn't have too much more. Cataclysm going to come on through. Can he get any kills back? Elyoya not gonna be able to find it. Sven just uses the ultimate beautifully to survive everything, and C9 are on the board.
Really nicely done there, even with Blabber not able to actually find the knockback because Chasey used the W, Blabber wasn't in range. The follow-up is enough. Zwen immediately grabs turret aggro, which ensures that with his ultimate he is fine. Fudge might have to pay the price here, though.
Perhaps Hylissang looking for his opportunity. Grand Entrance does come through. There's the Counter-Strike, though. One heck of an ability. The Ignite comes through. Quickness going to be utilized as well. They do not want to leave anything to chance, and Elyoya is going to skewer the Jax for a second kill from that.
And the roam from Hylissang working out this time around. As Berserker and Karsi, they're still here, guys. Don't worry. They're in this game, I swear. We saw like one ultimate from Karsi, maybe as
Speaking of ultimates, yeah, the Weaver's Wall going to come on through here. Is Karsi going to try and get himself out of the way, and he does so beautifully. Seismic Shove has to land if he's going to make that one work. True Shot Barrage connects as well, but he's overstepped, and Karsi's going to get punished by Berserker. We could say baited by Blabber, but unfortunately, I think it was more of a Karsi stepped a bit too far forward.
Desperately wanted to get the kill there on Blabber, who still had his flash available as well. And into the welcoming arms of Berserker. Xayah getting an early kill, particularly in a setup with as much frontline as this, always going to feel great. And Mad, able to get that topside kill was nice, but one of the reasons why the Ezreal is seen as such a safe pick is because it's so incredibly hard to consistently lock him down. But the moment you start falling behind with a pick like that, particularly if there is frontline in the form of Alistar and Cassante, you can definitely run into some issues. And that's going to be a lot of CS missing. Now, the plate not going over to C9 is nice, but in by itself, not enough. And I think that you just have to accept, right? You absorb the gank. Maybe your team has an opportunity to go extra aggressive on the top side of the map, get some extra damage down.
You understand exactly how he was feeling, right? Like, you see that health bar, I'm like, that's one Q. That's one Q, and I get him. Not the case.
Flash as well. So still getting caught by the root, unfortunately, as Chasey.
Yeah, Blabber's going to spot him out. And he says, nope, you're not going to be able to steal this one away from me. I'm going to overstep as well, as the Gwen is pretty scary. Does just have his steel caps completed after that leeching lead that he's had for quite a while. So due a shot, perhaps. Blabber's going to move himself towards his bottom side. So first rate goes to C9. As all right, that is going to be M&S finding Hilly. He's looking to try and get himself out. Ground entrance going to be enough in order to do so. Does have to burn the flash. Not exactly the favorite thing for a Rakan who wants to use that to get these fights started.
Yeah, overstepping a little bit. Mad was also invading the top half of the map where they have great vision control. So Hilly then trying to also apply some pressure, get down some vision in the bottom half of the map. Will end up getting punished. Does get away with his life, as M&S does have to tank a little bit of damage, but will be able to pick up his little cannon there. And Karsi, obviously, Ezreal, you're always going to be fine. If it's one, maybe two of those kills. If they start stacking up, they're definitely going to be in trouble. And we do see Niski, as mentioned, early game, I think Cassante does have a lot of agency in that 1v1. The moment that the Liandry's is done, really changes. Niski is going to be able to whittle down M&S, as we see there, as gold lead here for Berserker. It's not insurmountable, but for a guy who has been great with leads and very pivotal to C9 on a hyper carry, still going to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, he's looked incredible. Just get Berserker the items that he needs, and he reliably carries. It's been a bit of a mantra for C9. Another Weaver's Wall going to come on through here as Blabber's going to show up, chasing in a whole host of trouble. The Needlework doing a fair bit, though, here as Fudge going to try and get out of there. Sven going to be the one to lock it down, though. And a bit of the question mark. I think the answer to that question is you got to kill.
And this is a lot invested, and the problem for Mad is that there is no cross-map response, right? Elyoya was actually backing, not able to make anything happen. There's no dragon on the map, and the rest of C9 playing respectful as well. We don't see Berserker overextended or by himself, and even with the vision control that Mad have in the enemy jungle, doesn't actually end up being enough to find a counterplay. C9 pulling ahead. Going to be able to pick up first brick here as well.
Oh, great little pickup there as Sven. Going to have to blow the flash, get himself out of the situation. Does have Hex Flash, so getting that flash on cooldown, very, very important. Something that I've spoken about many, many times. As Karsi be able to take down the turret on the bottom side of the map. And the lane economy snapshot provided by MasterCard is going to show us things going well for C9 outside of support and mid lane. Otherwise, it is all blue.
And this is exactly the same combo they used earlier, right? The trio of Blabber, Fudge, and Sven. And for Chasey, even with the sustain that Gren has, there just isn't really enough you can do. They don't even really need to rely on Sven tanking, right? Fudge is able to take a few hits, then drop out. The Ignite not going to be enough. Riftmaker is now done. I was kind of wondering if we're going to see any of the Rocket Belts. Gwen, which also has been a really popular build, but instead it will just be the classic Riftmaker really strong in the 1v1 and makes Gwen feel like a real champion, able to win these longer fights and make those, you know, iconic 1v multiple people Gwen plays where with your ultimate you sustain for everything.
I'm wondering when we're going to see the Akali answer once again on the top side of the map. I know a lot of top laners have been playing a heck of a lot of Akali in solo queue, but solo queue doesn't give us a lot of information.
Okay, Chasey knows.
We're ganking the turret, exactly. There's out a turret, it stands no chance. Where's your flash? Fudge is going to be able to take that one down. Sven, of course, making sure that no one's going to turn up. Chasey is going to do so. Mad getting information. Sven's not going to be there, but still, Fudge is going to be able to take this one down. So 1-2. As far as these turrets are concerned, things working out as far as side lane priority for C9 as well. Feels like the Jax is working out here for Fudge.
And we did see the Herald being taken on the other end for Mad, and they will be able to get a charge turret very low, and picking that up going to be a big boon for them. Nisqy, now we're starting to see Mad actually pick up some standing gold on the map, equalizing these objectives, making sure that they don't fall too far behind. And honestly, very similar to the previous game. We actually see it going very even.
Yeah.
We'll see if C9 can build themselves up a Drake lead here.
That's going to be that Hextech Drake, and it will be secured there. Good smite from Blabber, as Nisqy's going to have to flash. Fudge is going to flash immediately after him as well. Blast Cone, he wants to get over and he'll find it! Beautifully solo killed by Fudge. Locks down the Syndra, and the Jax is only going to get worse from here for Mad.
Really big win. C9 get the dragon. Nisqy gets caught on the opposite side of the map and invests his flash as well. And that to me is the biggest part of that, because for Fudge with Leap Strike and the innate safety it provides, it's actually really hard to consistently take down the Jax. But yeah, the moment that you know you're in a long lane alone, I think some of the members of Mad actually being spotted, Fudge knows he can go in. You're never getting away from that Jax.
Yep. Beautifully played by Fudge. Even gets a ward there that is now very useful. Like, it's just success after success. Chasey, though, going to try and answer here by pushing in this bottom lane. Side lane pressure here for both of these teams is working out. And Blabber wanting to clear vision. Elyoya wants to steal away this Brambleback. The Seismic Shove's going to pull it back. That is going to be Blabber locking that one down. Elyoya actually takes a little bit of a journey as well. He will be all right. C9 just trying to keep themselves with some control of their jungle. Because, of course, the mid lane, it's sort of pseudo-safety in the fact that their tower is very, very low. Headbutt Pop does come through. That is going to be all the CC and provided to make sure that the Seismic Shove is going to work out. But Hillsang not going to dash through the rocks. No. Absolutely fantastic.
Just looking at him, you don't have enough damage.
Yeah.
I'm fine. No bother. The main thing, and I do think that this is another situation where you can claim that both teams have really good elements of scaling. I think that Ezreal, once he hits a certain point, can take over team fights. We have the Gwen, who, even though into the Jax, particularly with the Jax having a lead, I don't think you're going to be super excited about, still is a really big team fight threat. But for Mad, the execution is a lot harder, right? Because you don't have a traditional front line. You have Elyoya, who, sure, is a bruiser, will be able to take a little bit of a beating, but particularly with the itemization, right? Kraken Slayer, we have the Liandry's as well. Divine Sunderer isn't really going to provide you with the safety that Nisqy and Karzi might be looking for. So it all comes down to initial setup, initial engage from Elyoya and Hillsang. Whereas for C9, like Sven and Amanus promote so much frontline and counter engage that if they're able to just keep Blabber and Berserker safe, I think it's going to be hard for Matt. Now, Matt's vision control, though, has been really, really good, and I think that is pivotal as a little
cancel. Weaver's to stop the backs. You love
a little cancel.
It's going to work out. We do have Baron spawning in 3 seconds' time. Don't think anyone's going to head over there just yet. As Chasey still demanding some respect here from Fudge. Will leap his way out of what could have been a precarious situation. Things, as far as CS are concerned, are very, very close between the two top laners. Outside of that, Fudge with the extra kill, so still feeling all right as the Jax, but not wanting to take any risks. Didn't have full information, not wanting to give away anything here. As M&S just spending some time towards that top side. But I want to go back to what you were talking about as far as setting the stakes for what's going to happen later in this game, because this looks like a very quintessential C9 composition of, it's all right, Berserker, you do your thing, we'll get in the front and cause a ruckus, you kill everyone. And that could just be what happens as we get later and later in this game. Mad's going to have to really focus on eliminating the Xayah. A thing that can be difficult, given the safety that Featherstorm provides.
I think you see some in the building as well. Blabber going for Rylai second. Obviously, Talia, I think, applies it very well, but it's also another extra angle of safety. The slow combined with the normal peel that you can provide for yourself, but also for Berserker with the E is something that C9 might have to rely on too. Now, Matt's vision control, again, I think goes really deep, and I'm hoping that they can deny the dragon stacking, because if Matt start picking up a couple of Infernal Drakes, it really tilts I think the ease of execution, because if you just press your buttons on someone, they will die, right? If you get enough AP, if you get enough AD, and even especially if you're actually able to get an Infernal proper.
They're going to look for Berserker here, who Ice Cold just going to stand there, and he will say, "You don't have enough." Much like we saw on the other side of the coin previously.
Low. I wonder if C9 want to set up a situation where they're like, "Okay, Matt, you go for the dragon. We don't care. It's only a single dragon for you." And then we just
rush Baron?
Hard run, yeah, to Baron, which is up, and they have, you know, Liandry Stalia. They have Isaiah that's sitting on 2 items, Quick Blades and Kraken Slayer both done, so Baron definitely going to get shredded very, very swiftly.
He will. Abyssal Mask also completed here for M&S, so Blabber is going to be doing a lot of work if M&S can get himself in there. And of course, Talia as the solo source of magic damage. It's not going to be a lot of magic resist built this game.
It also works both ways, because I think that Mad actually are pretty reliant on their magic damage for a lot of their burst and sustained damage, right? Karzi obviously is going to be able to burst, but M&S with Abyssal and Merc Treads, I think can just keep stacking these resistances. He goes!
That's a flash right on top of Niski. It gets a flash in response. Good reaction there from the Mad mid laner to get himself out of the way. Weaver's Wall going to come through here. It's in trade for that one, but the knockup does come through here from Sven, who wants to make a fight out of this. Hasn't actually ulted just yet and is now looking to potentially go for a reset, get the health back. Just take the trade. They've got Flash and Ghost out of Kazi.
Now, the summoner trade favorable for C9, but the positioning much better from that. They have control of the river, and they will be able to deny the dragon stacking, not allowing C9 to pick up a soul point 23 minutes into the game, getting it for themselves. So in the short term, a favorable trade for Mad. We'll see if C9 is able to maybe go for an aggressive Baron play and then use the fact that Niski and Karzi don't have Flash available. I actually like this. I think playing aggressively in this way is great. That ward, though, not blocked by the pink, I think. Or actually, no, it is. We're fine.
M&S is going to be able to see that there is a ward in this pit, but I don't know what they're going to be able to do about this, because it's going down so quickly. Berserker's even the one that gets the last hit on the Baron because he does so much damage. Chasing now looking for the needlework here onto M&S. This is the matchup that he wanted in the first place, but of course Casante's got the dash. He'll get himself out of there, and Fudge is just doing Jax things in the bottom lane. Oh dear, Mad, they deny the dragon stacking, but the Baron stacking, Chronicler.
Yeah, you take that.
That's feeling good.
Not going to be sad about that one. C9 identified a Mad after being able to pick up the dragon, not in a position to actually contest that Baron pit. And the Red Bull Baron power play for C9 should be huge here. Fudge already picks up an inner. They have the buff on every single person. They didn't have to give up anything besides Blabber's Flash, which you're going to be very happy to pay. We'll see if they're able to really break open the map, because Mad, I do think, do have a decent amount of ranged wave clear, but these outers definitely all going to fall. Already the mid outer that is still up, 100% going to get taken down here by Berserker and M&S.
Yeah, Hillsang was looking for some sort of follow-up angle. Niski not really close enough, doesn't have Flash. So, could be dangerous, absolutely. Chasey here towards his bottom side, just doing the Gwen things, but so much harder. It can be so snowbally if you have 1-for-1 compositions pitted against one another. As soon as one of these side laners gets the advantage, it puts on way more pressure. See where the Mad can find themselves some team fights to get themselves back into this one. Of course, Jax and Gwen, both great team fighters as well. But with the fact that Fudge has this edge, especially with the Baron, can really be a worry. And like you were talking about, the Red Bull Baron power play sitting at 2.2k. I think we're just getting better and better as far as these...
scaling.
Power plays are concerned.
Now, we have seen last game, getting a Baron, no guarantee that you're going to end up winning the game, but what I think has been a consistent trend in this, a pattern rather, in this game, is that even though Mad are still making plays, right, they're trading aggressively, in the long term, a lot of those plays still favor C9. If you look at the CS leads, right, even with the early ganks and the pressure that Oyoya tried to put on, Blabber, completely fine, absorbs it, flashes, is okay. Fudge, yes, he gets taken down by Oyoya with a really nice early flash flag and drag gank, but then by the end of it, C9 just go in hard, Sven goes to top twice, and they're completely fine.
Well, Scat of the Week does come through. There's a headbutt pulp, though. Still, he's not scared as they have the seismic shot. Elyoya able to get himself out of the way. Keeps the cow alive there with the ultimate, but now Fudge has found the backline. The quickness and the grand entrance having to be used by Hilly. Get himself out of dodge, but still C9 are pushing. They are not stopping. And with this Baron, his tower is not looking long for the world. And Sven still just fine. The Unbreakable will working out so beautifully, and Blabber just heads towards the top lane. They are taking everything from Mad.
And for Mad, not a lot of options remain at this point in time, right? C9 in full control, very straightforward teamfight composition. And it's again, yes, Elyoya gets out, but he has to invest his flash. He has to, together with the rest of his team, disengage. And as a result, C9 picks up a turret, and now the gold lead, 5K, definitely a very, very sizable one. Sven has been very, I think, impactful on this Alistar. Because even though Blabber, I think, having a great game when it comes to the damage output and absorbing the pressure, it's been Sven who has been making so many of these aggressive plays. The cancel there on Oyoya's flag and drag is what sets up that play.
Nicely done by Sven, and it's the power of this Alistar that we, you know, we're already talking about is very, very strong, but Rakan as well has had a lot of these moments already in this tournament, and just throughout his lifetime in League of Legends. Hylissang might be able to find something. We know he's provided some magic in the past. It's a bit on his shoulders to try and make sure that Mad can get the fights that they're looking for as well. But right now, it is looking tough here. And C9 looking like they should be able to get off to a 1-0 start. However, the win rate for teams that pick up Baron is currently 0%. So, let
teleport
that prove.
from Fudge. Deep teleport will get spotted.
Yeah, immediately. However, his position is still good. As Mad looking to try and get themselves out of the way. There's a flash headbutt to come through, but Hylissang, he just gets himself out of the way. It's not really the target that they want. The needlework now being put forward, but the stopwatch going to be utilized here by Fudge beautifully to keep him alive. But there's a lot of resources used by C9.
We'll see if this is an opportunity for Mad, if they can get to 2 dragons. Maybe try and punish the indecision there from C9, right? The moment you know you're spotted, doesn't end up working out. The wall is going to be enough to keep him away. It looks like it is. Yeah, it is. Flag not going to do enough damage to contest the smite, as Hylissang taking a bit of damage here as well. And M&S just going to be able to press that W. CC not something that he's too worried about. Kazi is going to be pressing that E forward, a dangerous move, but not going to be able to find any of his targets either. So Mad just have to watch as Soul Point goes over towards C9. And Chasey have to get back towards this minion wave. Has a lot of work to do as far as this one is concerned. Getting any sort of map pressure here for Mad. And we're approaching even larger gold advantages here for C9. And if that Infernal Soul comes through, oh yeah, I mean, it's looking pretty dicey. Very much so. And additionally for Mad, as mentioned, I think that so much of it rests on actually being able to be the one that is on the offensive. And I think that Mad have been able to do that in specifically a 2v2 skirmish 3v3 sense. When it comes to the team fights, feels like it's C9 that's pulling the trigger every single time. It's Blabber getting a catch, it's Sven going in, and even though the last engage didn't quite end up working out, Dragon still goes over to C9, so I don't think it's going to be too sad. The cancel! Oh yeah, it's going to get cancelled. Seismic shot going to come through, and I guess you can just engage onto Hylissang if he's that far up, and C9 now with a 5v4 advantage and a Baron that has just returned to the Rift. They're going to look to grab their second, and that might be the final nail in the coffin for Mad. And it's going to be another engage. The headbutt to push Elyoya away. Not going to be able to flag, drag, flash, or anything to steal that one as M&S. He's also able to keep himself alive. Kazi going to push forward one more time as Elyoya looking for it, but Berserker's just flashing after him. The seismic shoves. They've been amazing this game from Blabber. That's going to mean that Elyoya can't do anything. And Chasey just wondering why his kill feed's just red as he's dealing with an inner turret. And C9 looking to take a decisive victory here. Slow and steady, with I think Sven again having a wonderful performance here on the Alistar. Blabber absorbing the early pressure from Elyoya, and Mad just not able to really generate any type of aggressive pressure. And the trades that work out.
Hylissang looking for an option here, but Blabber is just going to go gold, and Hylissang is going to go down as well. The first Nexus turret has been taken. North America in their first showing here in the Swiss stage against the what is it again?
LEC, EMEA.
Yeah, let's go with the LEC. They're going to be able to take them down. It's LCS that are ahead, Chronicler.
And you know, best of ones are inherently volatile, but after the first two, I gotta say, LCS, not looking too bad.
Not looking too bad at all. I mean, it was almost TL taking down T1.
You know it.
And now it is C9 giving hugs to Niski as well, of course, formerly with C9. They are going to move to 1-0. You already said how incredibly important it is to find those advantages, find those 1 wins in these very volatile BO1s in the Swiss stage. C9 already being able to collect their first W here at Worlds.
Again, it means that you are going to get seeded against one of the powerhouse of the